The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we are. We are now live for another episode of the Indie Creator Spotlight, powered by the Dorkening Podcast Network. And with us today, we have Patrick.
Hello, I am here.
You are. Patrick, would you like to introduce our awesome guest?
Yes, I actually had to do some research on this gentleman, and I found out that, contrary to popular belief, he is not a method of transportation whose strength depends on the length of his hair. He is, however, a very talented writer and podcaster and an all-around awesome dude, Steve Van Samson. He is also in Enchanted Exile.
How's it going?
True. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for having me on. I love the Dorkening. You know I love the Dorkening, Tommy.
As we should.
We love you too.
I like to bring the snatch sometimes too. You like Dags?
Like Caravans more.
You like them pot of blue ones, Bice?
Periwinkle Blue.
Periwinkle Blue Bice.
I've always got a pair of them shoes.
Periwinkle Blue on Bice. How's it going, everybody?
It's going. It's going. You have a new book coming out. Mark of the Witchworm.
Yes.
Ooh, look, there's a picture.
Yeah. Pictures are cool.
We have pictures. We have illustrative evidence that this thing exists or shall exist. In a short couple of months, we are shipping this bad boy in January. And we had just a hell of a kickoff a couple weeks ago on Roughhouse Publishing's website. Actually, it's on the Facebook. We did a Facebook Live event, which I haven't really done a lot of those, and it was actually pretty fun. So really good turnout, and we basically did it to celebrate the fact that the book is now in pre-order. So if you like what you're hearing tonight and you're interested, you can pre-order this bad boy right now on roughhousepublishing.com. I know Leo has links everywhere because he's all sorts of together and stuff. So that's why I love him.
There's links up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us, where you can get it on Rough House Publishing. Would you like to? I know you didn't. I know I'm throwing this on you. Would you like to read the synopsis to give people a little taste?
Would I like to read the synopsis? Wow. You know, it's funny. You'd think I would have this memorized or something. No, I write stuff down. Let me go and let me go to the official press release, which you can also find on roughhousepublishing.com. I mean, I'm good going off the cuff though, but let's see. So the official synopsis, which I wrote myself. Here we have okay, here we go. And feel free to ask questions. There won't be a quiz later, but ask the questions. Okay. We have Rander Belmorn is far from home. He searches tirelessly for the one man who might be able to cure his dying son, but time is running out. The road has led to a frozen waste at the very edge of the world. But what Rander Belmorn never learned on that long, lonely road was the answer to the last question. The only question. How do you kill a witch? So Mark of the Witchworm is a low fantasy, dark fantasy. Some might call it grimdark. We'll see. Sort of a tale. It's a novel. It is going to clock in at about just under 400 pages. So it's a decent length without being too oppressive. And it tells the story of a guy who's just trying to save his son. So, like a lot of epic sort of high fantasy novels that involve various friends that get together and try to dethrone the evil king or something like that. This is nothing like that. This is closer to something like The Witcher or Game of Thrones. I say those because like they both deal with fantasy in a realistic way, and they both have a lot of monsters in them. Especially Witcher has more monsters, but you know, the dragons in Game of Thrones don't feel completely out of place, and then you get your giants and your mammoths and you know your stuff. I sort of treat it like that. I want things to feel realistic to a point, and yeah, I don't really have magic in this world. This is a world of plagues and alchemy and stuff like that, but mythological monsters for sure. And chief among those is the titular witchworm, who you will definitely meet in this book. Let me tell you what. She happens to be on the cover of one of the editions.
I believe her name is Mittens.
Her name is not Mittens. You can go right to hell and die, Patsy, for saying that. But yeah, so we have she's on the back cover there of the standard edition you're looking at right now. So what we have is there are actually two versions of this book that you can get on Rough House Publishing. It's the same book, obviously, but we have an alternate cover art. So you're looking at the standard right now, that right here with the. Okay, I'll wait till you stop
switching.
Okay, this one is the hardcover Rough House edition, which you will get with the premium or the ultimate edition. And this is hardcover, but it also has some extras in it as well. It is going to include an additional short story in the back called The Patchwork Veil. And that tells the story of one of the main characters of the book, just a previous adventure that they had, getting one of the items that is used in this book. That's sort of like the origin of how that happened. And there's also going to be some concept art drawn by me, and just an all-around kick-ass presentation, hardcover. And the only way you can get that alternate picture, if you like that, with the witchworm, is here on roughhousepublishing.com, and it's very limited. We're only doing 150 of those, and when they're gone, they are gone. Maybe someday later, you'll be able to buy a hardcover version of the book, perhaps, but it will never have this cover ever again. It'll just go to the standard cover if we decide to do that. So yeah, it's pretty fun, pretty cool.
So if somebody orders the Ultimate Edition,
Yes.
according to Rough House, it comes with the hardcover edition with that cover, the soft cover edition, the unabridged digital audiobook downloaded, and a full color double-sized poster, and a 2-inch enamel pin, and 2 commemorative witchworm stickers.
Yes, that is correct. That is the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
That's the one that I got.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing that, Patsy. I really appreciate it. I hope you like it.
Of course.
It's just something about the publisher. I've been working with these guys for a couple of years now, and this is the first novel we've put out, but I've gotten to work on some of their comics. Got to write my first comic story actually last year. Came out in Gore Shriek Resurrectus Volume 2. I had a story in that called The Nowhere Man, and that was pretty awesome. But we were kind of, the point of our working together, our collaboration was to do books at some point. And so this just became the one that we picked. And I had been working on the story for quite a while. It took me from start to finish about 3 years writing this book. So I'm not a super fast writer, and I like to take my time and to really hammer out story and character and all the stuff, and make sure I look at everything like a puzzle. It just, everything has to fit into place. And I like to, if you've never read any of my stuff, I think one of the things I always try to go for is to sort of like plant seeds as I go, and you're reading them and you're reading the book and you're paying attention to what's going on, and you might miss some of the seeds. You might pick up on some of them. And then later at certain points, they're going to bloom and you're going to be like, oh shit, like that's cool. I remember that little thing. And then there's some stuff you're probably just not really going to pick up right away. And I firmly believe that that's a really great way to do things, because as a fan, that's how I like when media is. That's how I like it when I'm watching like a season of a show that really tries to keep its continuity straight. Like, Supernatural really does it. And like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was big on that. And you could see something, 5 years, 10 years later, in the case of Supernatural, which is, ending its 15th season, like that calls back to something 10 years ago. And you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, I thought they were just never going to go back to that. And then they go back to it. And it's like the feeling you get as a fan is just so the best. So that's what I try to do with my writing. I always try to leave little seeds like that. And, with subsequent reads, hopefully, if you like it enough, you pick it up and read it again. And I have heard people have come back at me with stuff like that. They're like, oh, I didn't notice that the first time, but you actually mentioned that early. So always really try to be careful as I go and try to craft something that's just as good as I can, basically. And this was my first foray into, fantasy, because I typically am a horror writer, but there is horror in this book. And actually we've gotten back some early reviews that we haven't released yet, and we will. But one of the things that we've heard is that people are saying that it's a little hard to put into a category. It seems like it's just fantasy, and then there's all these other things. There's horror, there's suspense, there's, heart and stuff. So it's, it's a fantasy book through and through, but for somebody who likes their fantasy a little more dark and grounded, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I'm familiar with your writing little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely, I have to recommend folks get the edition with the Patchwork Veil, because that is a very, very good story. And I got the chance to check that out at an event the last couple of months, and that was very well done. I like the way you crafted the story. I like the way you sort of keep the reader guessing. And I've read a good amount of your stuff, and you do spend a lot of time on your characters and crafting your world. And there's no superfluous stuff. Like, everything serves a purpose, even if it's only around for a scene or two. Everything is has its place. Like, you don't just add stuff into the story just to kind of pad the stats, so to speak. Everything has its place, and there's a reason that you're talking about it. There's a reason that you describe things a certain way. And I really appreciate that, because there are folks, like Stephen King. I started reading Gerald's Game, and it's the first 150 pages describe maybe 15 minutes of something happening, and it's like, that's way too much. Or again, comparing it to Game of Thrones, where it's a very rich, deep mythology, but it can be overwhelming sometimes, because there are 21 characters named John, like, just to throw that out there. So, I like the darker fantasy myself. I like, because I always have a hard time reading fantasy. Your stuff is definitely much different from, say, a Game of Thrones, or, and I hate to say this because all the super nerds will get mad at me, but it took me 6 months to read The Hobbit, and I couldn't get 100 pages into Fellowship of the Ring. Couldn't do it, because it's so dense. It's the literary equivalent of trying to swim with your clothes on.
Yeah, Tolkien is an acquired taste. I mean, he does have his style, and I think that Tolkien, is why, Martin writes the way he does with all his characters. He has, you know, I mean, superfluous, I think, is the word. I love the Game of Thrones books. I actually never finished the show, and I know people don't like the way it ended and stuff, but I like the show from what I saw of it, but I love the books. And I think he does a really good job with his characters, but the problem is he doesn't know when to pull back and have like, just let's concentrate on a few, like, you know, and then it starts to feel like you're just lining them up so you can knock them down. That's why there's so many. Certainly in the show felt like that. So with this, one of the things that I specifically did on purpose was to have a small cast. So there are, you know, 3 heroes that are the main, that end up being like a quote unquote party or whatever group of these 3 heroes. And, you know, it's very organic how they are together and why they are together. And, it's, you know, it's not to, you know, fill out the roles of, you know, one's a dwarf, one's an elf, one's a wizard, so on and so forth. It's just because I needed these characters to be together to tell the story. So there's only 3. And apart from that, there's really only 3 or so more characters you're really going to meet along the way that you're going to bother remembering their names, because there are some characters you meet briefly, like, you know, this guard or that bartender or whoever. But, you know, as far as other characters that are memorable, there, you know, there's just a handful. And it's because I wanted to tell this very personal, sort of claustrophobic story where, you know, this guy is basically my hero, Rander Belmorn, is, you know, the stranger in a strange land. And he comes from a people who I based very much on Native Americans. This is not, obviously, there's no America, but they're very similar. And he is a type of hunter called Blackfoot. So I wanted to use that term specifically because I wanted you to easily have that correlation in your mind. Not only is he described like a Native American guy, but he's also often called a Blackfoot. And I just wanted that to be in there so that you know, are picturing the right sort of dude. And he's this really big, imposing, you know, you could say Conan-esque sort of a looking guy. So when he rides into town, he's big and strong and everything. But that does not mean he's anything like Conan in the sense that, oh yeah, he's around, he's going to win every fight. He, you know, nobody can stand up to him. This guy struggles the entire time. And from almost the very beginning of the book, he's struggling. So, you know, he's been on the road for 19 weeks now, and he's basically looking for a cure to save his son who's dying of this incurable disease. And the way that I thought about it was, this is a guy who, he's big and strong. He's good at what he does. He's a certain kind of, I made up this whole culture around this river. These people basically hunt these giant eels in the river, and they're so big you literally have to like jump onto their backs and like stake them and reel them in and stuff. Like there's this whole thing. So what it is to be a Blackfoot, but so he's used to doing this stuff. So he's big and strong, and he's just, you know, able to do physical stuff. But then his son gets sick, and there's nothing he can do. He can't, you know, punch that problem away. And he's not like a big brawny dumb guy, but you know, he can't do anything with his skill set to help. So he decides that he's going to set out and, you know, see if he can find a cure. And this is not an easy decision for him. It's not an easy decision for his family. I looked at it like, what would the wife, you know, say? How would the kid feel? I think that, you know, it would be very easy to write a story where, you know, everybody at home is supporting the decision. Yay, thank you. Oh, you're the best. Goodbye. Good luck. We wish you well. Come back to us in one piece. You know, I looked at it like, no, they're pissed. They're pissed this guy left because, God damn it, he left in their hour of need. There's no reason his quest should succeed. It's a 1 in a million. So probably the kid's going to die, and he's going to be away the whole time, and he's going to miss out on his kid's last months on Earth, you know, doing this. And the disease takes about a year before you die from it, but you die from it. It's progressive, and that's it. So yeah, everybody at home is not super happy about this, and you find this, that it's been eating away at him as well, and he definitely has tricked himself into believing he's doing the right thing, but in reality, subconsciously he realizes he's doing the easy thing. This is a guy who is a good man, but he has to come to grips with that. He left, and it was easier to go on this big stupid quest than it would have been to stay home and watch his kid die and wither away.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I like that. I like the it's definitely a change from some of the older older like hero tropes where it's like, well, I'm not the biggest or the strongest, but I have every skill imaginable, like in Aragorn. It's like, oh, well, I can fight wraiths and I can ride horses and I'm pretty much indestructible and I can I can stop various diseases from happening, like with when what's his name, Frodo gets stabbed by the
right,
the blade there. Like, he has a little bit of everything. Like, it's nice to have somebody who is more normal, more human. It's like, yeah, like you said, you can't punch the disease away. I also like the fact that you're centering it on just a couple of people and like, the adventures that they have throughout, the various lands that they'll be traveling through, like it made me think of the Dark Tower series where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of colorful characters that you meet along the way, but once they're past that town or that village, you're not really going to worry about them anymore. Like that's in the past, that's behind them. We're focusing on our quartet, and I think that's interesting. I like the fact that you're taking different, different cultural impact or different cultural inspiration and using that to inform your character design as well.
Yeah, I always try to work in as much marginalized sort of nationalities and representation as I possibly can. Obviously, my first two books are vampire books set in Africa, and this is something that I don't ever plan on stopping. I mean, it's just I'm interested in it. I want to see characters I haven't seen before. I want to write characters I haven't seen before, and so many Dragonlance type stories, focus around the same sorts of characters. Most of them are all white, and most of them, like I said, they fit into that same group. One's the hero.
They all have British accents.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? But yeah. So this is definitely more similar to Dark Tower in that regard, for sure. Like what you said, I do love that about the Dark Tower. I love that the whole entire first book, they focus on Roland, and even most of the second book is it's just Roland, like mm-hmm. He does get his characters and his buddies in the second one, but and then from then on it's the three of them, or the four, but like, yeah, I love that. Like, why can't we have a fantasy story that focuses on one or two people? So yeah, that's definitely my as well. So I hope, and I think the book does. I certainly tried to have it reflect that. So you don't have to worry about all these crazy names. That too.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's like, you look at a fantasy book and, the hero or, whoever has, like 15 letters in their name, 12 of them are consonants, and, you have like 3 apostrophes. It's like, how do you pronounce that? It's like, Glenn.
Right. It's Leo. It's just pronounced Leo. What's with all the apostrophes? Come on.
So if you are interested in Mark of the Witchworm, there is links in the show notes down below or up above. I just want to take a quick break here for a second for our sponsor, Deadly Grounds Coffee. You know what? I'll keep it short. Best coffee you'll ever have, but here's a zombie talking about coffee.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds Coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
And one of the things we love about Deadly Grounds is they're an indie business. They're a small mom and pop shop here in Connecticut. And we urge you to support indie businesses and, indie authors, indie creators, like Steve Van Samson here with Mark of the Witchworm, available at roughhousepublishing.com right now. Well, not right now. You can pre-order it now, and it ships in a couple months, right?
That's correct. It will be shipping in January, and we're just going to ride this pre-order out, do some interviews, and hopefully drum up some interest. There's already been a decent amount of that, so that's encouraging, and we're very, very thankful and happy about that. So thank you to everyone who's already purchased the book. And if you are thinking about it, keep an eye on that. And if you're interested in the limited edition hardcover, keep an eye on that, because it's going fast and it will sell out.
I was worried that it was going to sell out before I got a chance to get mine. Like, I was stalking the Facebook Live page waiting for the link to show up, because that's a hell of a bundle. Now, you mentioned that you've got other books that you've done in the past, your Predator World books. Do you have anything else that you happen to be pushing at this time? Because I would imagine you are rather prolific.
I wouldn't use the word prolific, but I think maybe what Patsy is referring to is there are some anthologies that have come out this year, two of which I am in with various other authors. One of them being Patsy.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, no, I mean, no, it's fine. No, it's good. Yeah.
No, I'm talking Slay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, and that's another vampire anthology.
Yes, I'll talk about Slay. Slay was an amazing experience. I just can't believe that I got picked. They had, I don't know, I think over 80 stories were submitted, and they whittled it down to 28. And so it's a decent table of contents anyway. 28's a good number. And I mean, plenty of anthologies have under 20 authors in it and stuff, but so pretty good. And it's just an awesome book. Some amazing authors are in there. I've gotten to meet these people. I didn't know these people. That's the other thing too. Like, these were all completely new people to me, because they live in other parts of the world. Well, they're all American. I think they're all American, but they live all over the country. Awesome people. Jessica Cage, Nicole Givens Kurtz was the editor on that, and she's just amazing. Alidria Hurt, really, really cool lady. Milton Davis did a ton of work with Charles Saunders, who just passed away. We just found out he passed away actually in the spring, but he was an author that really pioneered what became Soul and Sword, which is basically the African version of sword and sorcery, which is pretty kind of much what Black Panther is, but Black Panther had a lot of sci-fi in it as well. But yeah, so pretty cool. Very, very humbling to be in that book, and it's been doing great. And it was holding very comfortable placements on Amazon for quite a while. So that came out last month. I actually had 3 anthology books come out last month. First was Slay, and then it was More Lore from the Mythos 2, which also starred your pal, Patsy the Angry Nerd. There he is. Had a story in that as well. And we're both in More Lore from the Mythos Uno as well, which came out last year. Pretty cool. It's a Lovecraftian inspired anthology. If that sort of thing is your bag, check that out. That is put out by Fractured Mind Publishing. Slay is put out by Mocha Memoirs Press. And we also have a book that is, I believe you're going to be able to purchase it tomorrow, I think. This week is what I've been told for sure, but that is also going to be pretty fun. And the both of us are in that as well. And that's called VHS Nightmares. And that is a callback to the dirty, dingy shelf of your like down home video rental store they would have like the sort of like, you know, sketchy Italian stuff in the back, and like, you know, not everybody noticed that. And these are all stories that could have maybe been movies like that, basically back in the 80s. And that is put out by Danger Meows Publishing, which this is their first book.
Correct.
So that is really exciting as well. It's funny. It's like, it seems like, you know, so much, but these are stories that I've had out in, you know, I submitted these a year and a half ago or whatever. And since it's all horror, everybody puts everything out in October. So, you know, you have like one amazing week and you're like, holy shit, I did so much, you know. It's like, it's funny, but it's just how it goes when you write horror sometimes, you know. That's why, like, if you are a writer and you're thinking about being a writer, you're throwing it out there. It's like, start with anthologies. Definitely start with that. Like, write some short stuff and bounce it off people, you know, and see what they think and take their advice. Don't just feel like, you know, this is a perfect, precious thing. And, you know, you can't get insulted if people want to tell you, like, you know, there's room for improvement. Trust me, there's always room for improvement, no matter who you are. Stephen King has room for improvement and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of anthologies out there going on at this point, because like there's so many presses. People start these small indie presses, and a lot of people like to do anthologies. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome how many there are. It's kind of like an embarrassment of riches at this point as far as places to potentially send something. But what that translates into is that there's also 1 million submissions. So like, you got to make sure you're sending your best stuff, you know.
Cross your T's and dot your lowercase J's.
That's right.
Now, I just want to,
that's right.
Before you say anything, Leo, I just want to qualify that I would be talking about these books you're in, even if I wasn't a part of them, because you know, I want to promote your stuff. Like your Predator World books, Bone Eater King and Marrow Dust.
Hey, do you have those handy? I don't have them in the studio here. Maybe you do.
I have.
Oh, see, that's handy. That is handy. That is
Bone
handy
Eater
right
King,
there.
and this is my signed copy that I got when you appeared on Throwdown Thursday. It says, "To Ashes and the Shark Guy. The night has many teeth, but all are sharper than Patsy's. Raise a glass of red." And that works on so many levels. I'll put those back after, because I'll end up knocking things down.
Well, just a quick reminder also, Patrick, you have a book out, and we have the links in the show notes for how to tip an exorcist. How about tip an exorcist?
I do have that out, and that's something I'm excited about. And I have a poster behind me, which is pretty cool. And Steve was kind enough to check out the book as well, and he purchased it. He was very nice. I did notice we have Kari Sanders hanging out in the chat, who is another one of the more lore from the mythos authors. So check out her work as well.
Oh yeah, hey Kari.
Yeah, like, and that's what I like about anthologies, is that instead of just, you know, like me pushing how much do you tip an exorcist, or Steve pushing you know, any of his books, it's, you know, there's what, 15 authors in this, like all 15 of us are pushing it at the same time, and you know, we all have various levels of exposure and different methods to get the word out. Last I checked, we were up to number 66 on Amazon in horror anthologies on Kindle, and just outside the top 100 in paperback. So it's doing very well, and I'm glad, because I really liked your story, The Root of All Noise. Yes,
thank you. Yeah, it's been doing pretty well, that book, and you know, you never know how things are going to be received, and it's great. I mean, the reviews for the first one were by and large great, and the reviews for Slay have been just amazing as well, you know, just absolutely insane. So that's obviously the goal. You know, you want to, well, it depends on what your goal is, I guess, but I think one of my main goals is that, you want people to have a good time. I think that's very important. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not saving babies here. We're making stories. We're making entertainment. So we want, are you not entertained?
I will
Hopefully
say, you're being a little humble, because a lot of the reviews for More Lore from the Mythos Volume 1, most of them directly mentioned Steve and how much they enjoyed his story. Out of all the stories, they specifically mentioned him. So I want to point that out, because
it's always nice to have a call out. But yeah, I mean,
D.
no matter
Rook,
what the book, one story does not an anthology make, and it's always great to have a shout out like that, for sure. That's always awesome. But it does.
Well, I knew you wouldn't say it, so I wanted to make sure that it got said.
Okay, well, thanks.
Now, I had said that we need people to buy this anthology so that you and I can retire and just write full time.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, "No, maybe not yet." And I said 2 or 3 months tops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got plenty of books that are out that are selling well, so you should be fine.
I should be fine, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, to look at this more on the dorky side. So
Yes.
Steve, since you're constantly writing, and we're going into, what is that? NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo.
NaNoWriMo.
Yes.
And that stands for
National
Novel Writing Month. It's the first two letters of all those words. National Novel Writing Month.
Except for writing.
Writing has 3, yeah.
But it's just the 2 sounds.
Yeah. But yeah, do you had you heard of that before, or?
I have, and I thought there was another. I can't remember what it was. This is for November, right?
That you're thinking No Nut November.
No. No, I thought there was like another writing month, like, not for a novel, but just to write. No,
I'm not familiar with it.
or it has always been NaNoWriMo, however you say it.
I'll be honest, I have never completed it. I've tried, like, the goal, you're supposed to try to get 50,000 words. My best, I think I got 37,000. At last count, I did do a sprint with Jeanette last Friday, where you take 15 minutes, you go on a timer, and you write as much as you can. And I got 572 words. That's what I've done for the month. So I'm averaging almost 58 a day. So if there are 1,000 days this month, although with 2020 it could very well end up being that long, then I'll hit my goal.
Nice. So, Steve, where do you find your inspiration?
Can you guys hear me? I think my
yeah.
connection's bad.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tried it one time, and the book I was writing, I did not make the 50,000, but it did become The Bone Eater King. So that's how I use the experience. Even though it was a failure as far as NaNoWriMo goes, it was actually not a failure because it got me started. So I ended up taking an extra 6 months, I think, past November, but it got written. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, and that's as long as you're getting something done. Like I said, I have fewer than 600 words, but I hadn't written anything in this particular story in a couple of weeks. So getting in there and, setting the timer, I found worked fairly well for me.
Yeah.
I think my problem is if I try to force myself to be creative, and I don't know how it is with you, Steve, but I would imagine, like with anything, if you have to force it, it's shit.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I feel that way. Yeah. I think that, what I do just in general, when I'm writing a novel, at least, is, I try to find the times that I can write. So I'm at my desk at my day job is my day job, and I'm able to write at lunch. And when I get home, hang out with the fam. I'm a dad, hang out with the kid. When it's time for, her to go to bed, certain days will be, okay, my wife and I are going to hang out. And then other days I have podcasting. And then other days I can definitely have like guilt-free writing basically at night. So that's another reason why, it takes me a while because I can't write constantly all the time anyway. And, they say you should write every day. And I try to when I'm writing. Right now, currently, as we speak right now, I am not writing anything at all. I'm completely, I don't want to even say taking a break, because right now, all of my free time that would be used for writing is actually being used to record the audiobook. So, I'm, as you said, Leo, I'm on a podcast on the Dorkening, Retro Ridoctopus, and I produce that myself with my three buds, Nintendo and Boss Rush Mode and 8-Bit Alchemy, who you heard his music in the beginning of this episode, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And so that's pretty cool. He does like 8-bit chiptune stuff, but so we have a good time. But yeah, so I have everything I can just produce here. So it was just sort of, to speaking with the publisher about it, he's like, well, what about an audiobook? And he really wanted to do an audiobook. And I was like, that sounds fine. That sounds great, but, narrators, good narrators are not cheap, nor should they be. It's a lot of work. So we just had this conversation. We're like, well, you produce stuff yourself, could you produce this? And it's funny, like I didn't think of it at all before, because before I had the Predator World books, and all the characters in those books are African, and I just don't at all want to read those. I feel like it has to be read by a non-white guy. Like I don't want to read those. Could be a man or a woman, but I think they should sound African or something. And I think that'll just that needs to happen. So I always was like, I'm not even considering those at all. But with Witchworm, it was like, well, yeah, that seems okay to me. Like in my own brain, I'm like, okay. So we talked about it and we tried it out and stuff and did some tests. But there is a sample actually on the Rough House page you can listen to. It's actually on the not where you do the pre-orders, but there's another link that I know Leo put in, and it's the press release. And there's a bunch of stuff there too. And there is a sample to a chapter that it was like basically my test run. And the quality of the audiobook is actually going to be significantly better than that. I actually wasn't super happy with how that turned out. And so got some new equipment, and we're good now. So the audio quality is going to be good, and the performance is going to be as good as I can. And literally all of my free time is from now until it's done is being spent recording my audiobook. So this is my first time doing this. I hope it turns out well. I certainly think it will. I'm having a good time, and I'm doing voices and stuff too. And there's going to be original music from my old band Enchanted Exile, which I have the banner back there. For Enchanted Exile. And we wrote a song specifically for this, and so you're going to be able to hear that. It's not released anywhere else either, but there's going to be like interstitial moments where you're going to hear bits of the song that we wrote, and hopefully some like sound effects here and there kind of peppered in. Just we're trying to give it that next level feel, which is pretty much Rough House Publishing's whole thing is to next level everything. Nothing is ever without extras. Nothing is ever the cheapest paper stock or the lowest quality anything. It is always like about adding value and creating a collectible that you're going to feel extra extra good about giving your money towards, because you could give your money to a million other things. Why do we deserve it? And I really love that credo. I love that whole thing, and that's one of the reasons why I think we gel so well, and everything. But for sure, Mark of the Witchworm is going to be no different on that.
And I've heard you read stuff, so I know how, and you've got a very nice, smooth voice. And when you're reading your own work, especially because you know exactly how it's going to sound and how you want it to sound, I've noticed that when you read your own stuff compared to how you read other people's work, your work tends to be like it's almost a personal, intimate thing that you're doing. And, you can tell that, this was born of love and passion, as opposed to, I really enjoy this story and I want to read it, as opposed to, this is how I want my audience to take this in. And I think you do a really excellent job with it.
Well, thanks a lot, man. That means a lot. I do think it helps being in the head of the writer, because I am the writer. So there is that. And you're right. A lot of it is, understanding the intent. Something that comes to mind just now is, what's the worst line from the first X-Men movie?
Oh,
come on. You know it. Everybody knows it.
It's been forever since I
the lightning with the
the
toad.
lightning. Yeah. Halle Berry says, "Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?" And then they zoom in on her face, and she's like, "Dun, dun, dun." And then she goes, "The same thing that happens to everything else." And then she strikes him by lightning, and it's just the worst line. It's terrible delivery. It makes no sense. But that was one of the 2 lines written by Joss Whedon, who I know you hate, but you can just deal with the fact that I'm talking about him.
That's fine. Talk about him all you want.
And so he wrote 2 lines for that. He came in as a script doctor, and he wrote that shitty line, and he wrote the best line in the movie, which was when Wolverine calls Cyclops a dick. He's like, you're a dick. And he's like, okay, yeah, it's you. So he wrote the best and the worst line. And I always felt like, why was that line that bad? Like that toad line, it's so terrible. Like, why?
She has an Oscar.
Bad. So I think that Halle Berry is a talented lady. She's a good actress. She is not a comedian. And I think that line needed to be delivered completely differently. Like, I almost feel like if it was like I don't know, somebody who had, I don't know, a comedian. I can't think of no woman comedians coming to mind right now, but like, they could be like, you know what happened? Like, ham it up in the first part and then like be really super dismissive in the second part. Be like, you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? Da, da, da. The same thing that happens to everything else. Kaboom! That could have worked. Now, is it an A+ line? No, it's not an A+ line, but nobody would have thought it was the worst line in the movie. So I think that is a great example of, like, writer's intent versus how it's delivered. And I think if I wrote that line and had it that way in my head and then saw the performance, I would have been like, oh no, you fucked it up.
Just real quick, we had a bunch of comments coming in. Chris Denmead, also on the network, with the Boobs, Blood, and Badasses, says, looking forward to the book, Steve. When it comes out, we'll play the CD on air again. Kari Sanders says, more love from the Mythos Posse. Derek Rook, I overtipped my Exorcist since lockdown. They've been working overtime. Angel from That Strange Show says, you're going to kill it, no doubt. Joseph Adorno was looking for a shout out. Kari Sanders, totally with Patsy. Is always amazing to know how an author hears their own work. It can completely change the perspective and how we interpret it.
I also agree with Paul McNamee, saying that this is the worst NaNoWriMo November this year. A little distracting.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes. And Nintendo also has joined the chat.
What's up, brothers? I don't have the Facebook link open because, man, my connection is taxed enough. So I'm just gonna hope that.
No worries. Yeah, everything's fine.
Oh, good. It's
so-
been like spotty at points for me, for you guys. But
You got a little crispy in the beginning, but nothing major. So to dork it out a little bit, we were talking earlier, is what is your inspiration? How do you get all your thoughts together? Is there, like, I know some people use like Scrivener to get all their thoughts in one spot and then write together. Do you use Word? What's your process like?
It's mescaline.
Mittens. My process is mittens. For me, because I'm going between different computers as I write anything, I prefer to use Google Docs. So I just have various Google Doc files open at any time and for any project or whatever. And I basically keep one that's, all sorts of names and locations. And anytime I come up with, any sort of a new town or a new person, that's, even if it's barely in it, that person's barely in it or whatever, any standout traits. If I go, oh, there's this guy Leo and he's got an eye patch and he carries a very big club, it's actually a meat cudgel. I picture you with meat cudgels, and so like
that's what he calls it.
Yeah, that's what the meat cudgel's my penis. I would write down, and I'm gonna like, oh, Sir Leo of Connecticutus. That's a really good one. I'm gonna write that down. Hold on.
But it has to be 2 axes, and I'm battling snakes.
Yeah, and so then I can just keep everything straight and make sure that I have that table of contents, that glossary, I should say, really. And then I always do a synopsis when I have the initial idea for anything, and usually those are like that is the fastest I write anything ever for some reason. And it's funny, I saw somebody on Facebook, one of my author friends was saying that today. They're like, oh, for crying out loud, how come it takes me so long to write a chapter, but I busted out like 1,000 words in 20 minutes. Like, how did I do that? Why can't I do that all the time?
You're talking about,
I find that to be, yeah.
Also from More Lore from the Mythos.
Yes. 1 and 2. And she was the editor as well on both of those books. It's really funny. Like I do the exact same. I have the exact same experience. For some reason, everything just flows so quick. I can barely get it on the page. And I feverishly over the course of literally sometimes just an hour. Sometimes I go back to it the next day and change some stuff. Just like blur, just this huge, like just dump of what the story could be. And, at that point, I'm either going to start working on it or more likely I just kind of file it away. And when I'm ready to work on it, seems like the network is kind of hiccuping. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep. You're good.
Okay. So when I'm ready to work on it, I know it's there and I'm not going to forget any of the stuff that I was thinking about or whatever. And then literally I just start a third, I got the glossary, I got the idea, the synopsis down, and then I start a third one, and that's just the book or the short story or whatever. And I just find it to be, it's very resource light to use Google Docs. I can easily go between the 2 computers. I know it auto saves as I go, so I'm not worrying about, oh shit, I didn't save that last 2 hours or whatever. You should save anyway, but it's great. Also, because you can have the Google Doc drive on your computer, or in this case, my case, 2 computers, I actually have 3 instances of every file, and that's going to update every single time I basically turn on whichever computer. So, I have it at work, I have it on the cloud, I have it at home, no problem. So that's just sort of I think a really easy way to do that. Now, I know that some people plan everything out and do everything in Scrivener, like you said, and my experience so far is that I use Scrivener at the end only, just to do my formatting at the very, very end. So that's just what I've done.
Nice. Just
know.
heads up, you can use Dropbox with Scrivener and use it on multiple computers if you needed to do that.
Cool.
Yeah, I just learned about Google Docs earlier this year when I started my new job, and it has been a game changer.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, it's not fancy, and I I like it. It's like I said, it's so resource light. Just the program itself, just like opening like something like Word, just opening it takes forever, and it's just like ugh. Google Docs is really quick, and yeah, really never a problem at all. And what I have at home is just that it's only for writing, but I have a Chromebook, and it's literally the greatest thing ever. That was my game changer when I first got that. It's like, oh my God, I can just open it and write in like 1 second. Like, it's just on. This is amazing. Every other computer ever, you have to deal with it turning on and connecting to the internet, and it's like so ridiculous. But anyway,
I like that.
That's what I do.
I haven't tried a Chromebook. I might have to look into that.
It's great. I mean, because there's no programs on it. It can't support programs. It's just literally a Chrome. It's like an internet box. That's it. So I couldn't get Word on it if I wanted to, but I don't need to. I just need to connect to Google Docs. So it works for me. Maybe it'll work for you too.
And since you're using it for writing, you can go with like one of the lower end Chromebooks, because I know Chromebooks go anywhere from like $50 to like $1,500. It's crazy.
Yeah, mine is not expensive at all. It just literally does one thing, and that's all I wanted it for. And at this point, I've written like 3 books and countless short stories on it. So, I mean, it's still going completely fine. I love that thing. That thing is just great.
Nice.
But
I know we are at the hour mark. Patrick, was there anything else you wanted to make sure we covered?
We covered Slay. We covered the Predator World series, Bone Eater King, and Marrow Dust. We talked about Slay. We talked about more lore from the Mythos Volume 1 and 2. We talked about VHS Nightmares. Obviously, the bulk of the conversation was about Witchworm. Yeah, I think we're doing all right. You guys, you do a great job on your podcast. You do a great job, as with your writing. You're definitely not in a cult.
That we know of.
I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate you everything that you and I have talked about off air over the last couple of years, and I'm very glad we met you. This is another reason why we miss conventions, because that is where we met Steve. He was over hanging out at the New England Horror Writers booth, hawking his wares.
Yeah,
it was, and things have just blossomed from there, and things are. I consider Steve a good friend of mine.
Absolutely. And that is 100% true for conventions. And it's also true, I find, for anthologies. I connect with the authors. I try to connect with the authors. You can't connect with all of them. Obviously, there's so many people. Everybody's got their own lives and stuff. But, you tend to make a couple friends every time if you're, trying to promote the book. Tag other people. Tag their stuff too. If somebody else gets a shout out, it's great when you get a shout out. I like posting when somebody else gets a shout out too. Like, be like, hey, check it out. Look, this author, this reviewer loved the book, gave it 5 stars. They shouted out 3 stories, none of them which were mine, but congratulations, guys. Like, you rock, It's just all about like connecting, having a good time, being positive. I don't know. I love the community of people that I've met on this author journey overall. Cons came from that, and I so desperately miss cons, and it just we all do. It hurts so bad. It sucks. This is like the first, because I've been doing them as an author for 3 years in a row. And so this would have you know, and there's some people who've been doing it for 20 years. Like, how do they, I this only would have been my number 4, but oh man, it's rough. But yeah, I actually really, you know, I know it's popular to be like surly and, you know, hate people and stuff, but I don't know. I like meeting people. I like connecting with people. I think it's awesome. And there's some really cool people out there. And yeah, Patrick and I mean, we hang out plenty in real life, and like it all came from a con. So
yep,
because I conned him into being my friend. That's
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so you definitely hit on one thing without cons, it is definitely hurting the indie creator, and you know, that's why we urge you, you know, if you can, you know, I know there's a lot of people out of work, but you know, there's still a lot of people working, and if you find yourself you're in a good spot and you love supporting indie creators, definitely check out Mark of the Witchworm. I have the links in the show notes down below or up above. There are a couple different versions. If you want the ultimate version, it's $49.99, and you get a ton of stuff. You get both copies of the book, the hardcover and the soft cover. You also get the audiobook, and you get a pin and a bunch of other stuff as well.
Stickers,
and the poster art. I did. So one side of the poster, you actually had it at one point. I don't know if you still have it, Leo, to throw up there, but not that one. There's another one. Yes. So on the right side of Yep, right
there we go.
So on the right side of the screen, that's actually one side of the poster. We haven't released the second one, but we will be releasing it in the coming weeks. And that one right there features artwork. So there's 3 paintings that you're seeing throughout these, and they were all done by an awesome dude named Rene Eigner. And he is from Munich. We've worked with him twice before because he actually did the covers for both of the Enchanted Exile CDs. So pretty cool. So he is this is like the artist suite that we commissioned from him. And I actually did this is I love this poster so much because it features art from him, art from me, and really the layout was all Derek Rook, who had this idea to make it look like a sort of older movie style poster where you would have the characters written down as if they were actors, and you have like the 3 faces down there like they used to always do in like the 70s. And so it just all came together so well, and I just am very proud of it. I think it's really cool. So that's going to be an 11 by 17 poster, and on the other side of it is going to be the sickest shit you've ever seen, and it's going to be an action pose styled after like the old Marvel Godzilla comics, like from the 80s, that are like early 80s, I think like 1980. Marvel put out some Godzilla comics, and that's the inspiration that we're taking, and we're going to do this big kaiju sort of battle with the witchworm and another creature from the book, and that's going to all be drawn by Derek Rook, and it's going to just blow your socks off. So the problem is you're not going to know which side to show, like which you put it in the frame and you put it on your wall, and you have no choice but to flip it, or you could buy 2. I mean, you can buy 2. I don't know. You can do that too.
Why what how's the saying go? Why buy 1 when you can have 2 for twice the cost?
Yeah, it's such a deal. It's such a deal. But all joking aside, there are 4 versions, and you know, if we totally understand like cost. This is like times are tight right now. It is hard to be an indie creator in this environment. Just overall, we lost cons. We don't have cons. Also, people have lost their job. People are not, you know, they don't have access to the same funds they normally do. So obviously we are super thankful if you're even considering picking up Mark of the Witchworm. That would be amazing, but there are prices that are a lot lower than that. So that one, that's the ultimate is $50, but it goes down to the audiobooks $11.99. And I know a lot of people, you know, dig audiobooks, and like I said, I'm working as hard as possible on it to give you guys something awesome, worthy of you, the listener, worthy of the name Rough House, and also the you can also just pick up the paperback. If that's your thing, just by itself, it's $15.99, same price as my other books are on Amazon. and it's awesome. Like I said, the difference is the cover, and it doesn't come with any of the extras like the poster and stickers. It also does not have the bonus short story in the back or the art, the concept art that we're going to add, but the book is the same book. So, you know, meat and potatoes is all there for you. And yeah, so if you're thinking about it, there are price points that are hopefully going to fit every budget.
I mean, I just sold one of my livers, so I should be fine.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So maybe everybody else who's like short on dough can also do that and sell one of your livers, and then they can get the money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I donated.
Left
I donated blood. I mean, not mine, but
yeah.
Then I realized it was a donation, so I was like, no, that didn't help.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying. Keep trying, though. Keep trying.
Doing my best.
Well, you can sell other people's livers. Now, do you have to go through like a black market for that, or can you just?
No, just if people don't like lock their windows and stuff, and like, I mean,
yeah, it's like
that's how I got my PS5.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you just unwrap the presents, and you're like, you know, sometimes you need a knife, and you got to cut into the packaging, and poof,
you just
awesome
keep
stuff.
chopping stuff up, like, you know.
Now all I can think of is
out, wake
Charlie
up in the
Unicorn.
woods.
Now, remember Charlie the Unicorn?
Charlie.
Yeah, at the end he's like, "Oh, great, they took my freaking kidneys."
I was called a Leo Pleurodon for way too long.
Oh, the magical Leo Pleurodon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. Aw. Well, you're magical anyway.
I would say Leo is very magical.
I haven't counted your flippers. I don't know how many you have, but
11.
That's too many. You don't need that many. That's superfluous flippers.
Well, some of them are in a jar in the living room.
Oh, but you have them though.
Yes.
So they count. They add to the total. Gotcha.
Except when Patrick's borrowing them, though. I don't know why he asked for that, though.
Flippers are very akin to mittens.
Well, guys, thank you so much for letting me come on tonight and peddle my wares. I really appreciate it, and it's been a lot of fun. And I hope you guys check out the book, and don't forget to click on those links and just check out the pictures, check out the tiers, and if it's something you're interested in, they're there. Just remember that the if it is the hardcover that has your interest peaked, just remember there's going to be 150 of these, and that is it. We are not ever going to sell this cover ever again.
And if you are interested in it, we do have all the links in the show notes, depending on where you're watching or listening to us, just up above or down below. And
Diego Lares, Sally fan.
Yes, was asking, what's the stream about? You are watching, this is Monday, so this is the Indie Creator Spotlight. And then Tuesday, we'll have our Wicked Horror Show. Wednesday, we do Still Token With and also the Dorkening. And you have Tentacle Tuesday.
Yes.
Tentacle
Tuesday.
For your podcast. And,
Retro Ridoctopus.
Where do you like people following you and interacting with you, Steve?
I am on Facebook and I am on Twitter. I check those both every day. So if you want to say hey, or also if you're looking for right now for Witchworm, the only way you can get signed copies is through Roughhouse. But my other books, if you're interested in like especially Bone Eater King and Marrow Dust, I actually have a bunch of those that were for con season that never happened. So if you are interested in my Vampires in Africa books, they're basically apocalyptic action adventure horror type stories. And I have both Bone Eater King and the sequel Marrow Dust, and I will sign them. And I always do a little sketch on the front as well for you too. And that's for $15 flat if you are interested in those, but those are also available on Amazon. But yeah, I do have some stock of those. I just so happen to and stuff. So yeah, shout out or just say hey, or just say like, boy, you're a handsome man. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't even notice. Am I? I didn't even realize that. But thanks. It's really very nice of you. And check out Retro Ridoctopus, which is my podcast with my three brothers in arms, Nintendo, Boss Rush Mode, and of course my brother 8-Bit Alchemy, who's a cool dude. And I love those guys, and we have a good time. We have a good time talking about all things retro. We say all the things that made growing up awesome. So we have lots of different topics, but everything is basically things that we loved when we were growing up. And we do have an episode that's coming out tomorrow. So yeah,
Sweet.
Pretty cool.
Angel from That Strange Show says, send me some. I'ma hit you up.
You hit me up, man. Angel was on the live stream for the Rough House Publishing live event for the pre-order for Witchworm. That was very cool. You stopped by, dude. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, Angel's a good dude from again from That Strange Show on the Dorking Podcast Network. Somebody else on the network, Patrick.
Oh, me, yeah. I do a show called Throwdown Thursday, which airs I forget which days.
I can't remember the day.
Yeah. No, every Thursday you'll find a new episode. It's been like that for 200. This week will mark 230 consecutive Thursdays that we have dropped an episode. You can also find me on Fridays on the Loudest Sports Show, arguing with my brothers and having my 6-year-old niece pick NFL games. This week she won, I think, 9 or 10 games. Angel's still waiting for my book. Oh, that's no good. Angel, let me know, and either way, I'll make sure you get one. You can also find me here on Mondays, talking to various independent creators. You can find me on throwdownthursdaypodcast.com with all the latest episodes of Throwdown Thursday, Shark Bites. Where else? All the shows have Facebook groups and Twitter and Instagram. All that stuff is you can follow us all in there. So, and
or you can just go to the
books.
Dorkening, go to the dorkening.com, and you have links to all these great shows and more.
There's 30 shows on the network.
That's crazy.
Crazy. How did Leo? You did that. You built that. That's your house.
Yeah. No. So yeah, head on over to thedorkening.com, which you can find a bunch of information on the shows on the network. And like these awesome dudes said, 30 shows on the network now and growing. And yeah, this has been a blast. I want to thank you, Steve, so much for your time. And definitely head on over to roughhousepublishing.com to check out Mark of the Witchworm. And for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. But
it's all true.
Follow these awesome people. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Later.